All right. Man, all right, William, tell me about your strategy.
Fold quick, fold straight.
All right. Fold quick, fold straight. All right, what was your strategy?
Balance.
Oh, is this a version of the rabbit and the hare? Or wait, the rabbit and the tortoise? Is it the hare and the tortoise? Are you guys both rabbits? All right, what do you think, Joe? Which way should we throw? Okay, please guard your eyes. Do not sue us. Thank you. All right, let's stand right here at this line. William, why don't you throw first? Oh, bum 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 bum. Okay, you got that spotted? Okay, all right. Are you feeling the pressure?
Sure.
The bar is set pretty low. Are you going to be embarrassed if you lose to that?
Nah, it's just an airplane.
You're right. Okay, let's see it. Whoa! Our winner, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Way to go. Wow, the grand champion, the first ever. Let's give Okorie Johnson a big round of applause.
The first time I ever did that was on my wedding day. My wife and I got married in August of 2000, and we were adults, so we didn't have the benefit of having parents to pay for our wedding, and so we had to produce it ourselves. And so we both took responsibility for things that were important to us, and of course the music was important to me. And so the music had to be three things. It had to be, one, personal, two, it had to be live, and three, it had to be sacred. Personal wasn't hard. I'd written a few songs that I thought at the time were really good for a wedding. Most of them were for her. Live wasn't hard either. I had great friends who were wonderful musicians, and they were very generous with their time, and they wanted to play at my wedding. But sacred was new for me, and I wasn't sure what I meant by that. I'm sure I probably wouldn't have even used the word sacred at the time. But I knew that I'm Catholic, the priest, after my wife's grandfather walked her down the aisle, to say to the congregation, please bow your heads, let us pray. And I wanted to play. I didn't want there to be any words. I wanted the prayer to be the manifestation of my intentions through sound. And I think it was disorienting at first. People couldn't actually see what was happening because their heads were bowed and many people had their eyes closed. But the feedback I got afterwards was that it was amazingly effective, It felt to them as if the ceremony started with great reverence, and it was very clear how I felt about what was about to happen. So that was the first time that I started to kind of have a sense of what was specific to me about what I did. That's going to bring me to my first insight on craft. However, I'm not going to talk about that right this moment. I'm going to state the obvious. I am a cellist. I think I'm a pretty good cellist. Some might say an okay cellist. But I want to be clear about the fact that while I'm really proud of what I've done and really happy for the praise, thank you, Blake, I don't consider myself I'm a good cellist, but I'm not like a master. I'm not Yo-Yo Ma. Like, there's really only one Yo-Yo Ma. And I'm not the best cellist in the United States or in Georgia or in Atlanta, probably not even in this room. Jennifer is in the room, and she's pretty amazing as well. And I guess what I mean to say by that is that if you wanted someone to play the Bach unaccompanied suites, or if you wanted someone to play the Dvorak concerto, or if you wanted someone to play the Messiah front to back as if they've been doing it every season since they were 17, then I'm not your cellist. But if you want someone to improvise, if you want someone to loop, which you'll see me doing a little bit, if you want someone to play in an amplified environment with their own gear, if you want someone to storytell on their instrument, or if you want someone to perhaps speak through their instrument, or maybe even more important to me, if you want someone to pray on their instrument, I think I'm your person. And so that brings me to the first insight about craft. Know what you do. Be really clear and specific about what you do. Not in the general sense, not in the sense that I'm a cellist, but I'm a looping, improvisational cellist songwriter or cellist composer. I wanted to use other examples in other genres, or other professions, but I don't know enough about other professions to make that happen. But what I'm suggesting is that there's great power in being very specific about what it is you do and about what it is you do well. One, it's great for marketing, right? So you can say, this is the thing that I design, this is the thing that I make, but even more important, I think it really gives me direction, I'll say, about what I'd like to be good at, about what's important to me, and about what means the most when it comes to how I spend my time in this relationship. So, know what you do. And if there's someone in the audience, and I sense there might be, who maybe wanted a cellist to write a song about springtime, say, or maybe write a song from the perspective of a person who has seasonal allergies, but this year took their medicine and was able to really appreciate springtime for the first time, and you wanted them to describe what that felt like and where they might be, and they came up with, maybe this is what it feels like in Wakanda, so maybe this is springtime in Wakanda, then I'm your cellist. And that song goes a little something like this. can't quite play the entire song. Because I only have 20 minutes, and I think I clocked in the shortest was 21 minutes, so I'm gonna keep moving. So that's my first insight. Know what you do. The second insight, which is really also very important to me, is know why you do what you do. That's an interesting one for me because it's a late breaking epiphany. I didn't really know why I played the cello. I had a sense, like I like to play the cello and I'm good at it and I like playing with bands and that kind of stuff like that. But I don't think there was any deep-seated spiritual reason why I played the cello. But let me give you a little context. I used to be an English teacher and I left the classroom in 2011 to produce a screenplay. Don't worry about it, you didn't see it because it didn't get made. In spite of the fact that you didn't see it, I got out the gates pretty well. I got a chance to raise money, I met with some important people, they gave me some great feedback, and then right about 18 months, I really just started to plateau. Which was a special kind of pain, right? Because it's not crashing and burning, but it's like, oh yeah, there's potential, but not enough, that kind of thing, right? And so that made me very sad. And so I tried some other projects, and they turned out mediocre at best, and I pretty much had nothing to show for leaving the classroom, which was embarrassing and difficult, and especially difficult because while I was contributing to the household bills by playing gigs or doing session work or teaching cello students, it just wasn't a lot of money. So I was kind of presented on my 40th birthday, really the morning of my 40th birthday, with the choice of going back to the classroom, which felt a lot like failure, or doing what my investors wanted me to do, which was to write a screenplay about vampires or zombies. And while I'm not, throwing shade at anyone who likes vampires or zombies, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not the story that I wanted to tell. So I was really sad, and I would spend those sad moments leaning on my cello. And that's what I did on my 40th birthday. I'd been improvising with looping. I hadn't really gotten decent or good at it or anything. I hadn't written a song, really. And that morning, I sat down on my cello. I don't even think I tuned it. And before I could have really a conscious thought about what I was going to do, this bass line came out. And I'm not really sure what was going on, but I started to tear up. I really started to kind of well up in that moment. And I assumed it was because it was saying something that I wanted to kind of understand a little bit more. So I started to converse with it, and the way I was going to converse with it was by improvising. So I did things like... things like... And I kept going like that for about 10 or 15 minutes. And I woke up out of this improvisational trance, and I wasn't just tearing up, I was sobbing. My face was completely wet, top of my shirt was wet. I don't know if you've ever seen that kind of heaving cry, I was doing that. And again, I wasn't 100% sure why, but I felt like I had created a dialogue that was perhaps as eloquent as a screenplay I'd been trying to produce for the last 3 years. And I began to sense that there was an opportunity to absorb my desire to tell stories into something that I did better than produce movies. And that changed everything. All of a sudden, it wasn't the worst birthday of my adult life. It started to become the best birthday. And for the next 2 weeks, I improvised over this bass line. I improvised and I improvised and I improvised. And then I arrived at a melody, a head that would come to be the foundation of this song. And the head goes like this. that melody became a song entitled 40. I know, real creative title. But that song would give birth to 8 other songs, and those 8 other songs would become the foundation of a concert, and that one concert that I did in January of 2015 would become the parent to 11 other concerts that became a concert series entitled Epiphany. 2 of those shows were outside of Atlanta. One was in Atlanta, and the other one was in London, and that concert series changed my life. And it is very literally the reason why I'm here today. So that's clear. I know why I'm doing this, but even more important, and maybe even more existentially, I sat down to play my cello not because I wanted to be successful or popular, or because I wanted to sell millions of copies of an album, even though I would like to do those things. I sat down to play my cello because it brought sanity to me. It gave me a sense of solace, and it grounded me spiritually. And no matter what I do or for whom I do it, when it comes to the cello, I know that that is the reason why I play. That is the reason why I touch my instrument. That is the reason why I have this relationship. And I think it gives a certain amount of purpose and the capacity for endurance during times when that relationship is complicated, or our relationship is fine, but our relationship with the world is complicated. So that second insight for me is know why you do what you do. Okay, so the third insight is not quite as well-baked as the other 2. I'm going to be real with you. It makes sense to me, but I haven't said it in a way that it really makes sense, I think, outside of my head right now. But it is for me an important one, and it is basically do it for yourself first. And so I guess what I mean by that is that, as creatives, we are employed to create things for other people. We are asked to use our creative powers to bring into fruition other people's visions. And sometimes we are in line with those visions, and other times maybe we're not. Sometimes we might feel like it's work. But I feel like even in those moments when it's just work, if we can find a standard or a commitment that is very personal and important for ourselves, or for us, then I think we have done something very important and powerful, and if we're able to perhaps move ourselves, we have a much better chance of moving the rest of the world. I know that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do all the time, to find something in every single project that is personal, but I think that's the secret to doing good work all the time. Everything that you do should first please you. And if it does, I think there's a good chance, as a person who is a professional creator, that it will likely please someone else. So I just really have an example of this. And by the way, can you turn the bass down a little bit as I get ready to come up? There's this melody that I'm obsessed with. Like I'm in love with, and I'm not ashamed to say, the melody from All in the Family. Da 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 da. And so I'm ashamed because the show is such brilliant satire, right? And we are not invited to identify with Archie Bunker. We are invited to be critical of Archie Bunker, right? And with that first moment of satire is in the lyrics of that show, right? Because essentially the song is about those were the days where men were men and Hoover and all this kind of stuff like that. And you're just like listening, like even in the 70s, I'm sure it was controversial, but like for me to like say that as a black man in 2018, those were the days, it's just like all kinds of cards are being taken from me. You know what I mean? But what I know about the melody is that the melody, I think, comes out of this very rich jazz tradition. It is like so many of the other songs in the American Songbook that seem just American, but the reality is they come out of like Harlem or Chicago or the scales or the melodies, and that's what I think about that song. It has this beautiful kind of pentatonic feel to it. And so I walk around humming it. And I decided recently that it was important for me to reclaim it, to repurpose it, to find a new environment for that melody to kind of have a new meaning and context. And so that is this song that I'm getting ready to play for you, which is unfinished. I mean, there's a part that I haven't written yet, and I'm not going to even attempt to kind of create that for you today. But But nonetheless, this unfinished song I've performed for a couple of different audiences, and it has a really strong reaction. And I think it's because it has a really strong reaction with me. So I'm going to share that with you right now. And we'll see how it all goes. We could mute my mic for me. Put that in like this kind of Afro-Cuban percussive bass line thing. I've kind of taken that melody and kind of reconnected it with other notes that probably make so much sense for it. And it just gets me, like, I bawled. This passed the cry test. It really, really passed the cry test. I was bawling when I first came up with it. And I hope you like it, but I want you to know that I love it. Like, it makes me really feel good. But I knew that I couldn't just have those lyrics and that melody. So I came up with another kind of alternative melody that I want to share with you, and maybe you'll sing with me. And the words are, these are the days. These are the days that we've been waiting for. These are the days, we are the ones, right? So it goes like this. These are the days. These are the days that we've been waiting for. These are the days. These are the days and we are the ones. Sing it with me. These are the days. Please, these are the days. These are the days that we've been waiting for. These are the days. These are the days, we are the ones. These are the days, we are the ones. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit more so we can hear each other. These are the days. These are the days that we've been waiting for. These are the days. These are the days, we are the ones. Keep going, please. Keep going, right? I'm getting teary right now. So what I'm saying is that move yourself, right? Because you know what's good, you know what's important. That's why you're a creator. That's why you've been able to do this. And if you're able to find even just the slightest moment in something that moves you, I think there's a great chance that you'll move other people. That's it. I don't really have much more to say about craft.
Man, that was good.